Don says, thanks for Hump Day Hangouts. 2 questions for Bradley. In your complex silo YouTube video, you use the following structure. Okay, when adding the second county, it seems that the post name should be slightly different. Yes, it should be. Those videos were recorded many years ago, so I'd have to, I don't even really remember what I said in those videos, but yes, the post name should be unique for all the way down to that level. However, let me just clarify something right now. There's no need to use the physical silo structure anymore, which is what you're looking at in that URL structure there, which is where, you know, it's the category / post name permalink structure in WordPress. You don't need to do that anymore. You didn't need to do it back then, but I preferred it back then because I liked seeing the hierarchy of the silo structure within the URL. But we've tested over and over again, and you know, I haven't done any hard tests in the last few years, but it's not necessary to have that as a physical silo. You can do what's called a virtual silo, which is just using the post name permalink structure. So it makes your URLs much cleaner, much shorter, right? It's still, you still want to build your categories correctly. And you know, your subcategories, if you're doing a complex silo structure, you're going to have categories and subcategories, right? And pages and child pages, and then posts, right? Which is your 3rd level deep. But yes, when it comes to the permalink or the slug for the post, you want to have that is unique for each post. You can't duplicate leak repair, for example, as a post slug on 2 different posts, because it will, but WordPress by default will put a -2 for the second one, right? And so on the post level, I've always recommended that you would, on the post level or even on a subcategory level, but my point is you're going to need to have unique slugs, right? And so that's why it's not necessary to have the physical silo, because let's say if you were going to have Fairfax County and Prince William County, and then you were going to go directly to, like, I don't know, plumbing. Let's just say you're going to try to use plumbing as a subcategory for both. They're 2 different parent categories. Then you're going to have plumbing and plumbing -2, right? Because the second time you try to create that subcategory, it's going to have the same slug. It's not going to work. So my point is, you know, I stopped using the physical silo structure, which is where you see everything in the permalink, and started using virtual silo, because I don't care if there's a plumbing -2 as a subcategory, as long as it's stacked within the way that you build it out in the silo structure. The bots will crawl it correctly to where it won't bleed over from one plumbing, like plumbing -2 to plumbing, you know, the regular plumbing, if that makes sense. They will all be separate containers basically, but you don't have to look at that ugly URL is my point. Does that make sense? So I've switched to just doing virtual silo structure, which again is just using the post name permalink, because that way you can hide all of that stuff that's hard or impossible to reconcile within WordPress. However, that said, there is another way to silo, and I can't, obviously I'm not going to get into that here because it would take the rest of the time. I'd have to get out my Snagit and start drawing silo diagrams and all that. And anybody that's been in the mastermind knows what an abomination that is. But you can silo also using categories and tags, guys. You can use tags as a way to add, especially for complex silos where you've got perhaps multiple locations, but you've got the same service that's going to be provided in each location, right? So instead of having location silos via categories and then service silos via categories, which is difficult to do, you can actually use tags to create silos too, right? So you can have like location silos or service or product or service categories, and then use tags as a way to create location silos. And there's a way to do all of that, which is a little bit cleaner. It still takes some planning out, guys. A complex silo structure is just what the name says it is. It's complex. And so I always recommend, if you're going to do that, that you map it out first, because it will take some thought to be able to do it correctly. Marco, were you going to say something, or somebody?
No.
Okay. I heard a popping mic pop. Okay, so, but yeah, as far as when it goes down to the post level, yeah, I always recommended that the posts be more like conversational type titles, and the permalink structure can reflect more like what the title of the post is, right? But if you're just using the permalinks, the post name permalink, which is just a simple, a virtual silo, then it's not going to matter, because your URLs are going to be root.com, rootdomain.com/postname, even all the way down to the post level, which is deep into the silo, right? That it's just going to be post name. And at your at your earlier pages, higher up in the silo, at subcategory level, it'll be, you know, rootdomain.com/subcategory, or at the category level, rootdomain.com/category, right? So it's always just going to be whatever that page that you're landing on is going to be, as right past the first, you know, the first level past the domain itself. And so that's a much cleaner way to build a silo, in my opinion, because then, you know, it doesn't matter, because even if your permalinks have the -2s and things like that, which are ugly, and I always had a hard time reconciling that with the physical silo structure. It was very difficult. But over the years, I learned that's absolutely not necessary. You can do it with a virtual silo, so you can hide all that ugly URL shit that happens when trying to do that with a complex silo. It doesn't matter. The bots still crawl it the way that you build it, right? So regardless of how ugly the URL is, if you're hiding all that shit, it won't matter. Does that make sense?